Hey everybody, Steven here, and today I'm going to be covering a huge announcement that Unknownworlds made yesterday, and it's that they're actually going to be changing the story of Subnautica Below Zero. So I'm on the website here. I'll put a link for this so you guys can look through it also on your own. But the main 3 points here that they talk about: they're going to update everybody on the development with this. They're going to inform everybody about changes that are coming to the story. And then they're enthusiastically introducing us to writer Jill Murray. Now, Deep Dive is the next update that's coming, and it's a big one. And that's kind of the first paragraph that they're talking about. And they're informing us that it comes with a bunch of new features, tools, creatures, all that other stuff. But the thing with that is, that's going to come with story changes, but they're actually going to completely overhaul the story, right? So I'm curious to see what that actually is, and I want to hear from you guys too, what you think it'll be. Are you excited about the notion of this or not? But with this, they talk about the fact that they wanted to make this a much bigger game. They were far more ambitious with this than the first game, obviously. But they're not satisfied with the story, right? So they're going to be tweaking that some. And I'm going to read a paragraph. I'm going to read a couple here, but one of the big ones that stands out, it says, as some of our dedicated fans may have noticed, our writer Tom Jubert, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, recently left Below Zero to pursue other projects. Tom's brain was responsible for much of what fans know and love about Subnautica universe, fiction, and lore, and we will miss having him around. So this is the guy that has created obviously the world of Subnautica as we know it right now, and he's decided to branch off. Now, I've looked at some of his Twitter stuff. I believe especially when they were announcing some of the bigger changes to the story on the Subnautica Changes account, so I was kind of following some of his stuff, but he does write for other things too, so obviously he's being drawn to other projects, and I'm assuming writing for a game is something that not only super tedious, but you'll probably going through periods where you're waiting on them to develop everything and you do want to move on to other things. So with this, like I said, here he's kind of wanting to move on to other things. So the Subnautica universe will always carry a bit of Tom's spirit, humor, and imagination. So it says, with the adjustments and changes still required on Below Zero story, we found an amazing new writer / narrative designer to join the team, Jill Murray. Jill has done award-winning work on franchises like Tomb Raider and Assassin's Creed. She's worked on a wide range of projects, from dating sims to indie RPGs. She's even written YA novels about breakdancing teenagers. Young adult. Yay. Young adult novels about breakdancing teenagers. In a short period of time, I found Jill to be a terrific, imaginative collaborator with a keen sense of character and story. So this is where I'm curious about the direction that this is going to go in. And then part of me is super excited to just see where they go with it. At the same time, I'm also very curious as to what that means. They already have like the basic building blocks for the story, right? So they've done all this work on the intro and all that. So my first thought is, does that get scrapped? Are we just talking dialogue here that changes? Interactions with other characters, is that something that's, if it's completely rewritten, are those interactions completely changed? So we'll see, and I'll get to something up here that it's leading me to question a lot of this stuff, right? So, but they do address part of it. So, and so after a lot of internal discussion and reflection, we've decided to change directions. The upcoming Deep Dive release represents the last version of the current story that will be shipping to the public. We're going to be delivering a new story next year. So I did hear a release date was announced from somebody on YouTube that made a comment saying that it was actually April of next year. With that being said, I don't know if this actually ships that. Is it still April, or are we talking it's going to be later, like June, July, August, later than that. We'll see. So, in deciding to change up the story, we knew we had to work within the constraints of the current world. So that's one of the things where they're keeping a lot of things, right? Sector 0 of 4546B, from the twisty bridges to crystal caverns, from the Arctic spires to the deep lily pads, is going to stay largely the same. If anything, we will have more time to really work on the detail of the world, to develop the biomes into richer, more beautiful spaces to explore. So we're not going to see massive changes to the biome. I'm hoping with this too, in more time, we see maybe the map expands a little bit. That would be nice to see, because it's a big map and it feels smaller than the first game. But with changes to the story, what implication does that have for these biomes, where they may need to change up a bunch of things? So we'll see there. So they're looking to preserve and improve those parts of the game. It says right here, we know that players are responding positively to Margaret and Alan, for example. These characters will continue to exist in the new story, and we're going to look to develop them further. But beyond that, I don't want to spoil anything. Not yet anyways. So, very, very curious to see how this goes. And what they're going to change, because we're talking about they're talking about major changes within the world that they've built. So I'm thinking main characters too. Does the main character Robin change? Does she not have a sister anymore? Is that dynamic different? Are they completely different characters? Do they scrap that? One thing I will say is, with Jill joining the team, I do hope that they keep that. Maybe, yes, changing up dialogue and part of the story, but keeping the two sisters, I think, would be really, really interesting still, especially with Jill being a female writer. I don't know if she has a sister, but coming in and speaking to that dynamic from a personal level and kind of wrapping that up in the story, I think that would be really, really interesting, but we'll see with that. So I'm excited to see what they actually do, but I don't know how long we have to wait until we actually start to see some of those. It could be a couple months into next year before we see anything major popping up in the story. So they do end with the warning that saved progress in the current version of the game will be lost when we ship the new story. So something to keep in mind with that. I don't know, like I said, when Deep Dive is going to launch, but we'll get Deep Dive, we'll get to play it for a little bit, and then they'll have another update, and that'll completely change anything. So with that, for anybody that hasn't opted into the experimental build, I'm going to showcase a video on how to do that. So we might get some of those minor story changes kind of along the way before we see a major one. But the second they do change anything, I'm going to cover that for sure. But like I said, I want to hear from everybody in the community. I want to hear what you guys think on this. Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Are you excited about, not excited about it? What are kind of some things that you're thinking are going to change with this story now that they're kind of going to try and keep a lot of the building blocks of the world, but just change the story within that? So that is it, everybody. Like I said, leave me your comments below because I want to hear from everybody. And if you like the video, hit the like button for me. If you want to continue to follow along with all of my content, hit the subscribe button for me. Thanks so much for watching.